great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
2 years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the 50-50 show with myself, PharoahNFL, and my guy, the Severe Raider. Man, we got a fun-packed show today. We got a special guest. Man, we got a lot to talk about, and we got a lot of questions for our guest. I'm not gonna let him wait any longer, but I'm gonna give you a little intro. Man, he's a writer contributor to Raider Ramble. Obviously, you know him as a co-host to Unphiltered Truth. My guy, Phil Robinson. What's going on?
Fellas, how we doing? Doing good, man. How about yourself?
Got to get a round of applause, man.
Bro, all I need now is some pyro. We'd be ready to party.
Man.
Hey, we working on that, man. But what's going on, man? It's long time man. We haven't talked in a minute. I think the last time we actually were talking during a college football game, and we're going to get into some of the quarterbacks too as well. Mm-hmm. I think it was you're actually one of the first guys who's talking about Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix. Obviously, I think that Washington USC game. I think that's when we were talking. But we'll get into that in a second. But let's talk about. I don't want to waste any time. Let's get into what's happened so far this offseason. Obviously, last season happened. McDaniels, Ziegler regime is done, and now Antonio Pierce is here. What do you think of the coach Antonio Pierce, and how excited Raiders Nation should be, or should they not be excited? Like, let us know what you've thought of this team so far with Antonio Pierce as head coach.
There's a lot to be excited about. I there's been an interesting amount of people who detracted from him and tried to make the Raiders hiring him a bad thing, and I just don't understand it. If you sit back and you take the temperature in the room, players around the league want to be part of the silver and black. They want to play for Antonio Pierce. Rookies want to come to Vegas. Vets want to come to Vegas. Free agents want to come to Vegas. People who are
Mm,
on teams want to leave their teams to come to Vegas. Why? Because for whatever point, whatever Antonio Pierce may not be, the one thing he is the rally point, and everyone is willing to rally behind him. And as long as everybody is pulling the rope in the same direction, only good can come from that.
right.
Unless they pulling it straight down the drain. But that's hard. That's hard for everybody to want to go down at the same time. You know what I mean? But they
Yeah.
but you fast forward through that. You look at some of the victories for everything that he didn't do. Look at what he did do. The
Mm,
penalties. Nobody has been able to solve the penalty problem in the Raiders organization in history except him.
mm, yeah.
the the defense, Patrick Graham should get all the credit in the world, because when McDaniels was trying to run him out of town, set him up to be the fall guy because somebody needed to get fired for that lackluster start and the fact that the offense couldn't score 20 points a game. And then he just turned around and the defense was from week 9 the best defense in football. And a lot of people who like to try to take knocks at it and say, oh, well, it was against a backup quarterback, so it shouldn't count. But yet somehow, when the Raiders moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo, nobody seemed to want to take any of those victories that teams earned against Aiden O'Connell away from them, which is really interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what too? Like, I think a lot of it has to do with people kind of like hating. You know what I mean? Because he was a positional coach. He didn't have that, that classic. You go from position coach to obviously you go to coordinator, and then you kind of build yourself up, and then become a head coach. He kind of went from position coach with not a lot of experience, and he ends up getting the head coaching job. And you hear guys like Michael Lombardi, you know, kind of hating on him. He like talking about, oh, well, he tried to get into all the technicality. That's not the Raider Ray. The Raider Ray is talking about a certain type of player that we scouted, and a certain type of size, height, weight, speed, whatever the case may be. But what do you think of guys like Michael Lombardi like criticizing him?
Michael Lombardi is a lifetime failure as in the NFL structure. I mean, he had his opportunity to come in under Al, and Al just was completely disgusted with him. It's easy to say whatever you want to say and spout whatever hate you want to hate, but the point of the truth of the matter is anybody who's around Antonio Pierce has all identified him as the leader, the alpha leader, whether
Mm-hmm.
it be former Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, uh, the current Heisman Trophy winner shouted him out in his Heisman award, his Heisman speech. Everybody, it continues to come back to everybody wanting to rally behind this one person. Leaders lead, and it doesn't matter, and you don't have to have all the criteria. If you can lead, you can lead.
Mm-hmm.
And football is, for as difficult as everybody wants to make it, football is still a simple game. Violence, ill intent. You know what I'm saying? You take it, it's a dirty game, physical game. And if you can break somebody's will, break somebody's spirit, and have fun doing it, I'm pretty sure that's the Raider way. I'm pretty sure that's in the song.
Right. Right. Yeah. But
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I have a question. In terms of Antonio Pierce, he is the head coach. I think the most important hire of the Antonio Pierce tenure was the offensive coordinator. You know, we swung and we missed with Kliff Kingsbury. What are your thoughts on Luke Getsy?
Luke Getzey has a very interesting background. And so when you the to the untrained eye and the casuals, you look at what happened in Chicago and you want to crucify him because that was his shot at being the offensive coordinator over there, and they relieved him of his duties, and Justin Fields was this, that, or the third, depending on how you feel he is as a player. But the reality is that every situation is not what it seems, and you can try to do something, and if you don't have the support of the guys in charge where you're at,
Mm.
you can go from a situation where your quarterback won the league MVP in back-to-back years. You took a no-name wide receiver and made him an elite number one that made the Pro Bowl for his first time. Or you can have the situation in Chicago where they're struggling. The quarterback couldn't see a wide open receiver if it was the front door to a barn that was missing.
Like
Man.
this guy Phil knows his damn. This dude Phil knows his stuff. Guys, dog.
Man, man, Phil is severe is part of a membership, a group out here. Is it based out in LA? I don't know where it's based out of, but it's the
I am the
Justin
president.
Fields Hater Club. Like what is
Yes,
it called?
I am. I'm the president and the founder of the Justin Fields is No Good fan club. We have weekly meetings, Phil, and you know what? You will be a keynote speaker at our next meeting. With
It's
this, you spoke with such eloquence about the faults of Justin Fields, and I must commend you, my good man.
Well, that there's an opposite side to the coin, and it won't be good for the membership.
but all right, so Severe, he kind of got onto the coaching staff, and that's exactly what I was thinking too as well. So a guy like you alluded to Antonio Pierce being that alpha male, that leader of men, but with that type of head coach, where obviously he was a positional coach, never been a coordinator, so he's that type of head coach where you would want to build a really good staff around him. Do you
So
think with the staff that he's that he's hired so far, do you feel like he's done a good job of putting a good staff around him, or do you think there might be some guys that you don't like? Let us know.
So to address the first thing, everybody talks about how he's never been a coordinator. I'm pretty sure he was the defensive coordinator at Arizona State. So
This is true.
he knows how to call a defense. I'm pretty sure they won the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure they beat the undefeated Patriots to make sure that the 72 Dolphins remain the only undefeated team in NFL history in
Mm,
the height of Tom Brady's and Hall of Fame career. Just pretty sure that happened. Pretty sure that on Michael Strahan's team with OC, Justin Tuck, and a host of various other guys that are NFL legends, he was their leader. And we said that earlier, but the most impressive thing that I've seen him do, there have been a couple things, is he's an egoless leader, and that is why he will succeed
mm,
because he's not trying to force his way down everybody's throat and criticize others for not being able to conform to his way. He's instead trying to incorporate their way into the larger picture. And that's how you maximize the talent of everybody on your roster. All of these guys aren't bums. It's no secret that when you watch guys that everybody said couldn't play here, they leave and go thrive other places.
mm. Yeah, this is true. This is true. There's been some examples of players leaving, and not every player though. Guys like Darren Waller, who, you know what I mean, he can't get that injury bug off the back, and now he's kind of questioning if he should play or not. That's a whole different conversation for another day. But I see what you're saying. But how about, are you also referring to the coaching staff as well when you say that? Because
Absolutely. Because he's now, as I referenced, he's a defensive coordinator. said, but he clearly has an eye for offensive talent because he was also the head recruiter at Arizona State, where he recruited Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Daniels, Johnny Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, and a host of other guys who've been able to prove that they can play at any level.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, hey man, right now, when I hear you talk, man, I'm. If I was a Raider fan, I'd be super excited at the offseason so far, but I'm still not 100% sure about Luke Getsy. I got to see it before I believe it, just because we haven't seen him have success as a coordinator. But now he has an opportunity because, let's be honest, like if he was that bad of a coordinator, then he wouldn't be getting all these interviews with all these teams, including the Raiders. He was able to get a job, and now he has the opportunity to get his quarterback. That being said, let's move along. Let's talk about the combine. It just happened. Was there any guys that you like that popped? That kind of like caught your eye as far as like someone that the Raiders should get in the just so far?
So my first two guys were on defense. We can talk about quarterback till the cows come home, but the two guys that caught my eye the most was Braden Fisk, defensive tackle from Florida State, and Devondre Sweat, the defensive tackle from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The big guy.
Right.
Big
Nose tackle, right?
different. Yes, that's primarily where you'd want to play him, but they were running a 4-3 in Texas,
Okay.
or a 4-2-5, but it was a four-man front. Um, but big dudes are different. They're not the same big dudes. And if you watch the 40 time of 5.27 would strike you as slow, but then when you think about the fact that this dude almost weighs 370 pounds and he's running 40 yards in 5.27, which even to a which by NFL standards would be slow, which is still faster than almost 99% of dudes his size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Spencer Rattler ran like what he ran like a damn near 5 seconds, 40 for a 4.9.
4.9.
So, and that's not too far off.
My opinion of Spencer Rattler is not very high. I mean, he understands technical nuances of the position, how to play it, and how it's supposed to be played, but he lacks it,
Okay.
and he's never going to get it.
Man.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, since we are talking about Spencer Rattler, of the quarterbacks that were at the combine, just guys at the combine, was there any guy that stuck out that impressed you that maybe, initially you weren't as high on and you were higher on after seeing them at the combine, or initially maybe you were high on them and then their performance at the combine maybe dropped their stock a little bit in your eyes?
I'll say that at the combine, Rattler made a continue to make some positive inroads for himself. Um, in terms of the rest of the quarterbacks, no, there were I knew what to expect from Penix. I would say that out of everybody there who actually threw and fully partook in the events, that would be my choice. I would draft him at 13, and then be free to wheel and deal throughout the rest of the draft when trades are much more manageable in terms of what the asking value is.
Man, so you wouldn't even wait to because a lot of what's been talked about as far as Penix, that he's going to be a guy that just due to his injury history might drop in the draft, and some other things as well, but like mostly to do with his injuries and stuff like that he possibly can drop. So you wouldn't, if you're the Raiders, you wouldn't even wait.
But real quick, so everybody brings up his injury history, but he did what Caleb Williams did not do, and that is allow everybody's medical examiner to look at him, in which he got a clean bill of health. So if everybody's hyped up about his injury history, when the team doctors all say he's good to go, then what are we really talking about? And I'm not trying to come at you. I'm just merely stating that if the team doctors say he's good to go, then who are we to question what they say? They're the ones that clear him and determine if he can play or not. and if he's ready to go, then that's a quarterback who makes snap decisions, is lethally accurate, and as long as you protect him, will go out there, will get you to the championship game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm just saying because I'm not saying obviously he had like a clean bill of health in the combine, but when people talk about him, they talk about like how much time he's missed in college due to injuries, like season ending injuries. So like you don't think a team is going to look at that and be like, I don't know if I want to draft him this high if he's had 2-3 season ending injuries in college. And you know what I mean? Like there's still going to be that 4. You know what I mean? That's a lot, but I understand what you're saying. As of right now, he's completely healthy, but that is something where people look at like and possibly could, ding him on. But so you would take him at 13. You wouldn't wait until later in the draft, pretty much.
No, because
Okay.
there's other talent that you're going to need to get in other places that are going to be higher than others, some lower. You're not going to be able to get Devondre Sweat in the third round. They say that Brasso and Braden Fisk is supposed to be gone. I don't. That's not what I saw out of him. You're talking about a 292-pound defensive tackle that ran a 10-yard split at 1.68 seconds and ran the 40 in 469. Let me repeat myself. 292 pounds, running
Woo.
fast, running back, running faster than most of your tight ends or your slower tight ends.
That's a
This is your
faster 40.
defensive tackle.
Yeah. 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 That's a faster 40 time than I think Mahomes. Mahomes ran like a 4.7.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That's
And,
What did
crazy.
Josh
and your
Jacobs run? I think Josh Jacobs ran in the 4.6s, I believe.
467.
Oh, yep. So he's right. He's arm's length away from Josh Jacobs
No, he's much
on the
closer than
dead
that.
sprint. Oh
That
yeah.
Yeah, 200 of a second is an eyelash to a nose.
Yeah.
They're side by side, and he's got 50 pounds on Josh.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Right.
No,
So
he's got 70 pounds on Josh.
Yeah.
yeah. So most of the guys that you like, you said you like Michael Penix. You kind of mentioned some guys in there's no O linemen that you're looking at, guys in the
There's
trenches on the.
a lot. There's a lot of O linemen. So Xavier Gottlieb, the center from Liberty, was somebody who I was completely unfamiliar with,
Mhm.
and I purely based off the drills that you see would be silly. But what he did show was that he had the mobility to make it happen, and that it would at least be worth continuing to look into him as an option if you want to move on from Andre James. Christian Haynes, the guard from UConn, has been a guy that I've been on since the Senior Bowl. I like
Yeah.
his game. He's got good size. He's got good feet. He moves around. There's I forgot the gentleman's name, but the tackle from Louisiana, the
Mhm.
Raging Cajuns, his mobility was pretty good as well. I think that the guy Fuaga that they're hyping up isn't as good as everybody says he is, and
Mm.
the tackle from BYU looked a tad bit on the slower side to my liking. But after looking at what Puka Nakua was able to do in his rookie season, I'm not ruling out anybody from those particular schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Like.
most
Yeah.
hold on. Now this is the sleeper for everybody.
Mhm.
Most surprising were the linemen from South Dakota State.
You said it again.
So
The
the South.
offensive lineman from South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, Garrett
Uh-huh.
Greenfield. There was another guard slash center who was down there, and then a dude named C.J. Hampton. So these guys, the only knock that I would have on was that they looked small, but in terms of getting to their spots, they were quick, they were precise, they didn't miss anything. It's the question of, are you going to be able to handle a premium NFL sized dude?
Yeah. Yeah. So some of these guys that you're mentioning are like later round options that would be available, maybe third, fourth, fifth round, possibly maybe
Oh,
second,
like, well,
much later, much later.
so
But
the
but
South Dakota
there's no
State.
one in the first round.
In the first round, Haynes would be your closest. Haynes would be your closest. He would probably, in terms of guards, he's probably right behind all the Alabama and Georgia guys.
Okay. Okay. So you're mentioning guards. So no tackles that you're looking at. Because that's what I'm thinking I would be looking at is probably at 13. If you're gonna take someone high, it's probably gonna be like a tackle over a guard.
Yeah, there's nobody I'd take that high.
Mm.
No, not that. I was looking at Joe Alton. And the running back put up as many reps as he did on the bench.
Yeah, I seen
So
that. It
you
was
don't.
the running back from Michigan, I believe.
Yeah, the funniest thing about Joe Alton is the size of that dude's head. I'm like, how are you gonna have that big ass body and that little itty bitty head on your shoulders? Like that shit doesn't even look right. You look like the Mad TV kid without the freckles, bro. Get out of here.
So, so you're not a fan. So you're not a fan of Latham. I mean, you already made your thoughts clear on Fuaga. So you're not a fan of Latham or Fashanu?
Uh, Fashanu is more of a run blocker, and the interesting thing to consider is this: if you do choose to go with Penix, he's left-handed, so your right tackle now
Yes.
becomes the blind side. So
Yes.
if you have a run dominant right tackle, it's not going to work because he's got to protect the blind side, and that's
Yeah.
typically where you see it. Left side is typically now where you see the better rushers coming from.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. Um,
So so just to pivot real quick, the big story this week obviously is Denver Broncos are going to be releasing Russell Wilson, and man, it's going to be like probably what $85 million dead cap hit overall. I think next year is going to be 39 million. Crazy. It's super it's crazy situation. But he's going to be a free agent, and what they're saying, what the word on the street is that he would be open to signing a veteran minimum contract because the Broncos are going to be picking up the tab. Now, that being said, do you see Russell Wilson to the Raiders? Does that make sense in any scenario?
For 53 yards, 53 by 100 yards, that makes all the sense in the world. If you could give me Russell Wilson the player and the player only, absolutely you can make it could work. Absolutely. It would be one of those gift from God situations off a guy who's currently a journeyman because now he's moved on from two teams in almost back-to-back years. He, and so but the production was there last year. It was not his fault that they were losing games.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back and they almost made the playoffs, despite having started off badly, despite having the lead, the football points record set on them on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It was a Sunday morning game, but
it was.
yeah, but I mean, so it wasn't his fault. And then you look at what that whole shit that went down. And I got to make this quick because it looks like my phone's about to die. So Sean Payton is on his ass about injury guarantees. Why the fuck are you talking to him about injury guarantees when he's not hurt?
Yes.
hold on one second.
Agreed. Completely
Yeah.
agree. So you're very specific in your language. You said on 53 yards by 100 yards. That means on the field you had no problem with Russell Wilson. So I think a lot of the detractors will say that Russell Wilson isn't a fit with the culture, and it seems like you're maybe leaning a little bit in that same direction.
No, there's no maybes about it. So 53 by 100 makes all the sense in the world. Also, Russell Wilson is a me guy. It's been proven in his last couple stops that I think with the Broncos he demanded his own office. Like, what you're too good to be in the locker room with your teammates. You're too good to hang with the fellas. You need to have your own office. You're not even over with the coaching staff. And he was a big P, and Pete allowed some of this to go down too. Now you've heard the stories from the Legion of Boom, from Richard Sherman. You've heard Marshawn back up that same story,
Mm-hmm.
and take it a step further with how little he said about it, because you could tell that there was a he could have landslide buried him if he wanted to.
Welcome back, Phil. I think I said it at the time. You and Ray were doing the show. I said Josh Jacobs was Bitcoin at that time, right? His value was plummeting. And I think that the emergence of Zamir White, I think that kind of suppressed his value a little bit more. So with the heavy running back free agency class and all those other factors, I think his best bet may be to take a 1-year deal, try to rehabilitate his value, and then go back into free agency.
Yeah. Hey, man, we're glad you're able to come back, Phil. We got some technical issues, but it's all good. We got you back. We're just talking about Josh Jacobs. Earlier, I don't know if you caught like some of the stuff that I was saying about Russell Wilson, just playing devil's advocate, and like why it would be a good fit for the Raiders to pick him up if the opportunity presents itself, being a vet minimum contract, and if he comes here understanding what AP's laid out for him as far as like he's gonna have to compete for that starting role, and if he doesn't get it, be a mentor, or regardless, be a mentor to that young QB room. If that's what he's agreed to, you're still saying no, or you're like, you know what, I'm out of here. Like, I'm not trying to deal with that. Russell Wilson, I'm the show, I'm the guy. Mr. What do you call himself? Mr.
Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited.
I mean, do I want Russell Wilson, who's gone from let's ride to can I get a ride? Mr. Unlimited, who's just run out of options at this point, because now the Broncos are. I think I saw they were holding off trying to. I don't know. It's crazy with him, but regardless, I'm out of the Russell Wilson sweepstakes. I was out of the Russell Wilson sweepstakes towards probably his last year in Seattle as well, last 2 years, where I had noticed that his legs looked a little heavier. He wasn't getting away from guys that he used to get away from when he broke outside the pocket. That's because he's getting older, and time is undefeated. And so can he run an offense? I mean, you would have thought that Sean Payton's offense would have designed an offense that he could have thrived in, and to a certain extent that he did, which is another reason why this whole situation is so bizarre, is because a guy who throws 30 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions doesn't hit free agency.
Yeah. So it must be like, it must be, Sean Payton never wanted him to begin with. So he was just trying to find every excuse to get out of that contract, because I'm not gonna lie, they did pay Russell Wilson a lot of money. They gave up a lot, and Sean Payton just came into that situation. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna try it out, but I already know that this is not gonna work out. And the rest is history. They let him go. The last we've heard so far, I think he's set up a visit with the Steelers. It looks like.
That was the place that I had identified as either the Steelers or the Vikings were probably going to be the two best places for him to go.
Just based off scheme fit.
I think the Vikings would be a.
Go ahead, Phil.
I said based on team fit. Now, supposedly the Vikings are going to pay Jay Jetta all his money. Now, if you're going to pay Jay Jetta all his money, you're not going to turn around and then meet Kirk Cousins' demands of what, $45 million a year, fully guaranteed, because he
for
was
35-year-old.
He was looking for a coming off a season-ending injury this year.
Pass,
man.
Kirk Cousins, but this is a guy that everybody's hyping up that he's going to go and do great things wherever it is that he goes next when he had receivers who were holding him up.
Man, at Jefferson and Addison. And like you said, man, if you want to pay Jefferson all the money he's owed, I think Russ on a veteran minimum contract, I think that is an ideal fit right there. I think O'Connell is a very good offensive mind. I think he can design an offense that will play to Russell Wilson's strengths. And I think they can do some damage there. I just think what went wrong in Denver, man, it's Sean Payton. I think he's an egotistical guy. We kind of feel the same way about Russell Wilson. I think I used this analogy before where Sean Payton came in there. It's like, what they tell you to do when you get in jail, you find the biggest, toughest guy and you punch him to kind of show everybody you mean business. I think, Sean Payton kind of did that to Russ. He's the guy with the biggest ego. He has his own office and he's this big contract. I think he came in there. He wanted to establish his dominance, show people that this was his team. And then, he wanted to bring Russell down a peg or two. And, he eventually, cut the guy.
Hey, at this point, you start questioning Sean Payton because, I mean, some people, and this is a definitely a good conversation to have. Is he overrated? You know what I mean? Was he living off, the great Drew Brees? It's possible, but we'll see. We'll find out. That's the Broncos' problems, and I'm glad it is their problem. Who cares at this point? But look. So, all right, moving on, because I know Phil, you on a time crunch. We appreciate you coming through. So now the offseason outlook, free agency is around the corner. Literally, it's next week. Who are some guys that you're looking at like the Raiders should definitely target? Because we heard Tom Telesco say the other day while he was at the Combine saying that they're going to have to, or I don't know if it was the Combine or at least to the Raiders media, he said that, he's going to have to be aggressive in free agency more than he wants, just because being a new guy on the team, he wants to be aggressive. So they're literally saying they're going to be aggressive. And you got AP talking about he wants an interior guy. Who's somebody in free agency that you want the Raiders to target and hopefully get?
So that's a great. I'm not gonna lie. I need to refresh myself with who's available at the guard position, because lately there've been a bunch of additions and guys who've signed, and so I want to make sure that I know exactly who's going to be there before I speak on that. With that being said, the tackle market is probably the worst I've ever seen it. There's almost no one available. Your best tackles available in free agency so far, you're looking at Tyron Smith, who Dallas recently got rid of instead of letting him finish his career as a Cowboy. You have Trent Brown. We've been there. We've done that. And you have Jermaine Illuminati. Between the guys that you re-signed, which will be your own, as much as I wanted to see if you could move on at the tackle position, it from the list that was brought up, Illuminati should be brought back. And we've seen, and he's had his moments, and he's had his struggles. So we know what he is. But between signing Jordan Meredith should be re-signed. You have Ronus Grasu, which, I mean, if he couldn't beat out Andre James for the starting position,
Right.
Yeah.
you could probably get better there as well. Dylan Parham needs to go back to the right side, and you need to find a left guard, and I think that will probably be better for the overall line. Now, he did have some good moments at center, so if you wanted to slide him into center and make him the center, I could live with that too. I just think he's better at right guard.
Got you. Yeah, because
So when it comes to Parham sliding over at center, would that be something because I know you already expressed your concerns about our us at the guard position. So would you want to kind of possibly weaken the guard position by sliding him over to center as opposed to finding maybe a true center in free agency?
I would prefer to find a true center. I think that when the offensive line was at its peak, he was at right guard next to Luminor, James had stopped running into him, and they weren't hugging each other mid-play, and we were rolling like that. I thought when I saw Meredith come in, I believe was the game that Zamir started getting out. It was either Zamir or Josh that got off, and they had a great. I think it was Zamir, and they had a great game running the football. So for as much as Van Roten showed early in preseason, he had some tells to his game, and he was tipping plays without meaning to.
Mm-hmm. So
now, one more quick question. So you brought up some of the guys that were on futures deals. One of the guys that we kind of essentially redshirted last year was Dalton Wagner. Is that a guy that you would like to see more of at the right tackle position? I know he's a guy that, at Arkansas, I was very impressed with him from what I saw in college. I think some of his injury history and possibly his age is what caused him to go undrafted, basically. So is that a guy that you'll want to see at right tackle, or would you like to maybe see Thayer Munford there, or would Illuminor be your top option?
I want to see the best man for the job. If you think that he's ready to go, and again, one of the key things that AP did that nobody else has been able to do has been to develop young talent. Young guy, you got max effort and dare I say max productivity out of young guys. The guy he's got to develop, continue for all the we need a corner talk that everybody wants to say. You have one. You need to develop Jacorian Bennett. Then you now have two coaches who can do that.
Yeah.
Well, they did lose a big time secondary coach in Simmons. I think he went. He ended up going to another team, I believe.
Commanders.
Yeah.
The ones they have are better.
You feel like are better than Simmons? I mean, he did a pretty solid job. I think he had some guys come in. They would be able to be productive under his watch. But hey,
Manning from the Jets.
Gerald Alexander got almost the entire defensive backfield that Cal drafted.
And he did get an interview for the 49ers for that defensive coordinator spot too. So they thought highly enough from him to give him that interview.
Is a defensive genius. A secondary, very highly thought of and sought after. You saw what they were able to do with the secondary in Miami and in Pittsburgh when he was there. So he knows what he's doing. He knows the game, and he can communicate it to the players and to get them to do work as a unit. And whether you have guys who are individually great, the best secondaries work together, and that's where he excels.
Hey man,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that Eddie Murphy reference there as well. What are your thoughts on Ricky Manning Jr., who was a UCLA guy, by the way, so you guys know?
Ricky Manning Jr. was a beast as an undersized corner, and if you got a lot of guys who are undersized corners, I mean, let's do a buck.
Shout out Meek Robinson.
If he can tell, he's a free agent. One of the guys that they have, if they're going to resign or not, and depending on his market, he might want to market. It would make. There's a couple guys on this as free agents who it would make sense for them to test free agency inbound, because while they can love coming back here, there's another team that's going to offer them a whole lot more money than what the Raiders probably.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how the NFL values that corner spot. They're gonna get paid. That's why it's good to draft them and have them on rookie deals. And that's another spot that possibly let's just since we're talking about the offseason outlook, it's not just free agency that we want to get into. Like at 13, people are talking about trading up to get a quarterback. But do you foresee the Raiders possibly taking a corner? Because I know my guy Severe is big on a corner in the draft. Would you see a corner at number 13, or are you looking to trade up and try to get a quarterback?
So I'm going to tell you guys the truth. We've seen the Raiders for almost the last 10 years fail to address the quarterback position. You can do everything in the world. You can have the best player in the league on defense. You can have a great defense overall. But if you
Yes.
do not have a quarterback, you will not win.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as evidence in
And
the
we
Super Bowl, I mean, you look at San Francisco, they just about at every position but kicker and quarterback and and head coach, they had the advantage. And the quarterback was able to go out there and win the game. The corner he's talking about, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Quinyon Mitchell. So I mean, you kind of alluded to this earlier. My quarterback rankings are a little bit unorthodox. I have Jaden Daniels as my number one guy. I have Michael Penix as the number two guy. I know you said you would love taking Michael Penix at 13 and rolling with him there. If a trade up was available for you to be in position to take Jaden Daniels, would you opt for that trade up, or would you opt for staying put and drafting Michael Penix?
absolutely,
Trade up,
absolutely.
my man.
If you're going to move, but the only concern I honestly don't care about the picks because, like I said, the way that this team is structured on offense, you can fill your offensive line hole free agency, whether you resign all your own guys and add a piece here, or you can add a lineman later on in the draft. What you cannot do, because if you look at the quarterback market for free agents, what are you looking at? Russell Wilson is the best free agent quarterback available, and we've established that if we don't, nobody wants to touch him. The Steelers quarterback situation is dire.
Yeah,
They have no choice but to sign that man.
yeah,
They really don't, because you can't take the talent that they have on offense and trot out Kenny Pickett and try to convince your fan base that you're doing everything in your power to win. That amounts to telling everybody that you're hiring fucking Jimmy Garoppolo on a busted up foot to come in and be the leader that you need him to be.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm with you 100%, man. I definitely want to get a quarterback in the first round. I'm just looking at it from perspective like there has to be they're gonna have to the teams that they're gonna want to trade up with. They're gonna have to be willing to do business. So some of these teams that they're gonna want to trade up to get to this spot, they can possibly take a quarterback. You got the Commanders. You got the Patriots can easily take a quarterback. Patriots can
Either one,
easily take a quarterback.
I'll
Say
tell
it
you
again.
why.
Go ahead.
Either one of them are taking the quarterback. I'll tell you why. The Commanders are tearing it down to the studs. Sam Howell is a decent quarterback. For the majority of the season, he was leading the league in passing.
Yeah.
And so your issue with Sam Howell is he any good? This is the 65 times he was sacked.
Yes.
You released your left tackle. You released the center. There was questions on if you're going to release the right tackle. Cutting guys on defense. They are tearing it down to the studs, and they're trying to get it to the way that Kliff wants it to be ran. So how it's looking for the reason why Kliff spun around on his heels and didn't join us, because remember you brought that up, is Dan Quinn has split the team down the middle. He's going to handle the defense. Kliff is going to handle the offense, and there's not going to be none of this.
Mm. And do you think Kliff left? Well, I don't. It's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of speculation, but like what I was telling Severe before we started the show. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Pierce came out and said that he interviewed 11 OC, and then he interviewed also 5 O-line coaches. And I was like, man, that's kind of interesting because you would think that like when the OC gets hired, he gets to pick his guys under him and for his staff to fill out his staff. You know what I mean? Like since he's the offensive coordinator, you know what I mean? Like that's not where you would see Pierce have a hand in, the O-line coach. You would think that, okay, you got Lou Getsy. He probably wants he's going to run a certain type of system, so he's going to want a certain type of O-line coach to work to like pretty much gel with his offensive system. So I thought it was interesting that he like AP came out and said, I interviewed 5 OCs and I interviewed 5 O-line coaches. I was like, okay. Do you think that might have been an issue there? Because I believe, I forgot who alluded to this. I think for you guys can take this for whatever it's worth, but I think Keyshawn Johnson mentioned that the issue with Kliff and AP and that kind of falling through is that the fact that he couldn't pick his guys on his staff. And if you remember, the running back coach that got hired, who's now the UCLA head coach, he got hired before Kliff. So you can see that the coaches on the offensive staff were getting hired before even Kliff was even finalized. So I don't know. What do you think of that?
So there's a couple ways to do. So is that a reason why he got cold feet? Absolutely could be. The deal that he got with Washington could have been better than what he was offered with Vegas. Also could have been. He has the opportunity to draft Caleb Williams, which he's probably not, which he absolutely is not going to have with the Raiders. Now, for one, you can want to draft Caleb Williams all you want to, but the numbers will show that when he got hold of Caleb Williams, he drug him down instead of lifted him up. Overall, I think that the Raiders probably dodged a bullet because while Kliff is going to go out there and it may look good for a little while, eventually the league is going to take notice of what it is that he's doing and bring it to a stop. And if Washington's got notoriously bad turf, so until they get a new stadium, having a quarterback running around and being mobile is going to result in RG3 the part 2. And if you remember the playoff game where his knee practically separated from the rest of his body.
Yeah.
Man.
Hello, Inada. I mean, so essentially what you're saying is that the Commanders are going to be open for business because right now they're just in asset acquisition mode, right? They traded away Montez Sweat. They traded away Chase Young. They released, their tackles. So right now they're not in a position where they want to put. They don't want a David Carr, a rookie quarterback, and subject him to that kind of beating that could essentially ruin the guy. They're going to just kind of run it back with Sam Howell, fertilize the ground, and then bring in a quarterback maybe at a later date or in a future draft class.
That would be the prudent way to address it. So in terms of going after top tier offensive tackles, guards, or whatever you need, that would be when you give up 65 sacks in a season, where you need to start. Teams talk about building from the inside out. You can't call yourself building from the inside out when you got Scary Terry, Johan Dotson, and a host of other guys, but you've got nothing up front to protect your quarterback.
Yeah, man. But that's that whole situation. We also heard Magic Johnson might have something to do with it as well. He got on the phone and was starstruck, and Magic Johnson said all the right things, and the rest is history. But it is what it is. And when AP was asked about it, he says, "I don't talk about guys that are not Raiders." But it is what it is, man. And I think AP actually in a podcast interview might have been the pivot, I believe. Shout out to them. He alluded to Magic Johnson as well. So.
When Magic calls you, you answer.
man.
Showtime, man. Showtime,
hey,
man. So,
what time we going? Let me know where I need to be.
Exactly. So, look, the Raiders are going to be aggressive in free agency. Obviously, from Phil, what you're saying, they need to be aggressive in the draft as well to get their guy. It's going to be a fun off season. It's fun. It's a lot of things to look forward to. But yeah, man. Hey, tell the people where they can find you, man.
You can find me at the Unfiltered Truth. Check out. So far we're on a break because Phil's doing his thing, but we got the AP cast going with me and Alex. You can find me on RaiderRamble.com. That's usually where I write my stuff. And for the Raiders anyway, I got something in the works. So soon we'll see how it turns up before I announce it. But it's something big, huge,
Okay.
and I'll keep everybody posted. And then for anybody who wants to look me up on social media, just use my name.
Awesome, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Hey.
man. Hey, like you heard my man Phil say, man. You see it on the screen. Phil Robinson the third. You can follow him on Twitter. He's active on Twitter, man. He's a good follow. So make sure to follow him on there. The Unfiltered Truth as well on YouTube. The AP Cast. You know what I mean? That's his show right now. You make sure to check it out, and we'll be looking forward to you and Phil Jones getting back together, because I know you said Phil Jones is on hiatus scouting. Man, that's crazy, man. I know he's gonna have a lot to say when you guys get back together and start going live. So that's gonna be good, man. But we appreciate you coming through, man. This is gonna be make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell. You guys are gonna be seeing this on both our platforms, The Severe Raider, as you see it on the screen, and obviously myself, PharoahNFL. Man, this is a fire show. And till next time, man, we appreciate everybody coming through. Peace.
Thanks.
Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Believe that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future. Just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.